Valley Area Forum. For those who don't know me, just to introduce myself, Heather Clewitt, I'm a councillor at Stowe Sutton and I'm chair of the forum. And on my left, just out a screenshot, but popping in, you want to say who you are?
Yes, I'm Lynn Easton and I'm a councillor in Dew Magna and vice chair of the forum.
Thanks, Lynn. So for some people, this might be the first forum meeting that you might have attended. We hope that you find it of interest and value. Can I just, before we begin properly, remind everybody to keep background noises to a minimum and to only speak one person at a time and try not to speak over others. Can you also make sure that your microphones are on mute when you're not speaking, and then unmute when you do speak, and we'll invite you to speak. Please use the MIS May I Speak button in order to say if you want to contribute, comment in any way, and we'll try and call people in turn. Yeah, hopefully we'll manage that okay. Could you also make sure that you're typing your name in the chat so we have a record of who is attending? Apologies, do we have any apologies, Alison or Sarah?
Yes, we've got apologies from Councillor David Duckett of Hinton Blewett Parish Council. Okay,
thank you. So first of all, just a couple of updates. The first is about the Summer Valley Links project, and it's a bit of a misnomer really in some ways because it puts the focus in a different geographical area, but actually it is about the A37, which is seeking to provide improvements to transport, walking, wheeling and cycling along the key corridors of the A37, 362 and the A367. We did have an information sharing session back in July last year when we met as a forum as part of wider public engagement. The results have now been published and I think we'll be making sure that that link is shared after this meeting. In terms of that Valley Links project, the West of England Combined Authority have developed an outline business case for the scheme. That was considered at their committee meeting on the 26th of January. They have agreed to approve the drawdown of funding and to develop the proposals in more detail, so that's good, including production of a full business case. It was also noted that going forward, further development of the project will be led by Baines rather than the combined authority. So again, that's a positive thing. Presently, the Commission consultants are updating and refining the proposals. So the revised proposals will be considered at a further public consultation event, which is due to be held later this year, possibly during the summer. And then just following on from that, a further update on the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement Programme will be circulated after this meeting. And then just finally, the other update is that the local plan options document is now out for consultation. That opened on February the 12th, and the consultation period will run through until the 8th of April. So this is a step along the way towards the full local plan, and the local plans will be at the heart of the planning system and really will be the main consideration in deciding planning applications for us all locally. So it's really important people have a look at that document, have their say, and are also invited not only to respond in writing, but to attend some events that will be happening, walk-in events. And there's one taking place in Whitchurch Can't quite read the date of that one. There's also one going to take place in Farrington and then one in Peasdown. They all take place between 3 and 7 o'clock, and they are walk-in events, and various officers will be available to answer questions and have discussions with. And again, I think we'll make sure that all those are available with links in the information that goes out at the end of this forum. Is that okay, Alison? Yeah. Right, I think that's all of the updates, unless I've forgotten something. We were now due to have an update from the police, but we do have apologies from them because obviously things have been quite busy for them. And because we work across 2 different beat areas in terms of police allocation, there are 2 separate reports. But again, Alison will send those out as part of the information that comes out after the meeting. I think if there are any pressing questions that people want to raise in respect of police or any of the sort of difficulties or incidents that may have been happening, can you please put that into the chat, and then we'll do our best to follow those up with the police. So I think that's it in terms of updates. So I'm now going to hand over to Lynn, who knows a lot about flooding in Chew Magna. So you're going to lead the next 20 minutes discussion.
Yes. Hello. Well, see that?
Yeah.
Can you see me? Yeah. Yeah, I suspect when we decided to put this into the programme, we had no idea that it would be followed by so many flooding events. But one of the issues that has come up for us in Chew Magna is the flooding of roads. Our wardens really are supposed to be looking after the people in their neighbourhood, helping them with their boards, making sure that everything's all right for them and that vulnerable people are taken care of. But what's increasingly happening is once all that's being done, they're then left to manage the roads. And there are a couple of problems with that. Obviously, that in itself is a worry because they're out for so long. But the other issue is when you're trying to divert people, they want to know where they can go. And unfortunately, we have no information about what's happening in other villages. And so the wardens were saying what would be really helpful for them is if we could have some kind of flood watch across the valley so that we could share information about which roads were closed and which roads were accessible when one of these flood events is taking place. So I just thought it might be useful to bring it to the forum and hear what you said. I wasn't thinking we would sort it tonight, but what I was hoping that the outcome would be, perhaps by the end of the session, that maybe people come forward from different parishes, not immediately, perhaps discuss it with your parish council, but come forward to make perhaps a working group to look into this more thoroughly. So really it's your ideas now, if you've got any. I'm sure you have.
Lynn, can I just say that we have got the Avon Fire on the call as well, so Lee Harding. So I don't know if you wanted to bring them in at this point, if they wanted to make any comments or
yes, if
tell us what the situation is at the moment.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so Lee Harding, I'm watch manager. We're over at Bath Fire Station. Obviously, choose one of our on-call stations. So they're not actually on station at the moment. So we're sort of neighbouring. And I've also got with me Ben Knott, who's subject matter expert on our water rescue. So we were just sort of saying then, with regard to the floods that we attend, anything that involves the highways, we then inform National Highways of roads, and they will put closures in. So I don't know if that's somebody you can liaise with regard to getting that circulated out of which roads are closed at any particular time.
Can I just reply to that? The problem is that highways are usually so busy when the floods are going round that even if you inform them, they often can't get to you to close the road in a timely manner. But I mean, that's another issue which we're taking up with with highways and the emergency team. I mean, yesterday, in the end, I took a photograph of a road that was really badly flooded, a through road, and sent it to the emergency team and said, can I close this road? Which we did, but it doesn't feel like it should be our responsibility. So that's one issue. But the other issue is then when I'm trying to divert people, I don't know what other roads are open. So there's twofold thing. And really tonight it was looking at, can we get together as a valley and have people who could, I don't know, in whatever way, put on Facebook or some way. So we've now got a picture across the valley of which roads are closed and which are open.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense from our point of view. Obviously, there's only so much we can do, and normally when these
Sure.
events happen, we're quite busy and bouncing from event to event. So yeah, definitely, I would sort of suggest probably social media would be your best tool really around that. Something possibly Chew Fire Station, we can get involved in that. Unfortunately, we did have somebody from Chew Fire Station here today, but he's been sent out, so he's not on the call. But it's something I can definitely relay back to them.
That would be really helpful. And if somebody from Chew, a fire person, can be on it, that wouldn't prevent us from going down the wrong street. Well, no pun intended. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's something that we can definitely get organised for you.
Good. Well, thank you. Was Clive wanting to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. It was interesting. Thank you for inviting me tonight, Lynn. It was interesting yesterday because people were turning around outside my house because they were told about the flood at God's Cross, and they were trying to get to Burnham, and the road past the lake was closed. Now, I have no idea why the road past the lake was closed, whether it was roadworks or whatever. And I don't know whether this road past the Pony and Trap, Moorledge Road, was on the diversion or not. I haven't checked it actually. But what's interesting is that there are floods all along the road, Moorledge Road, as you probably know. But the worst one is at Gold's Cross, just near, about 300 yards south of the Pony and Trap. And I usually go and clear the gullies. And I tried clearing them yesterday, and the water didn't go very, very quickly. And I found the council have taken out gully gratings, and put hard tops on them, so no water can come out of the drains. And of course, the drains are blocked. So I've sent them a letter, an email today, complaining and saying they need to sort it out because they've made the flooding worse. It's been happening a few times recently. I couldn't understand why it was worse. So that link with the council is really important. Obviously, this road isn't national highways, so I presume we have a link with Baines Highways, do we?
I don't know. I don't know whether we do or not. But what I was going to say was, one of the questions I'm often asked is, can we get past your place, past Pony? So, it would be ideal if you would come onto the group or at least be involved. So I don't know if other people are, sorry, Clive.
I'm really happy to come on, and I've got some suggestions on some of the causes of flooding. So it'd be good to go through those with the team so that we can, in a way, sort some of them out ourselves rather than rely on more permanent works.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Thanks.
But based on that, it'd be interesting to know if there's someone in West Harptree. Have you made contact with them?
No, tonight I'm hoping for people to come forward and say that they might be interested. I can't see anybody.
No. Well, maybe we can talk later and see if we can find out if there's, I can ask the council if there's a flood warden for West Harptree. Yeah.
There wouldn't need to be a warden though. It's just somebody that would report what's going on around them.
Yeah. But if the council has a voluntary flood warden, we might as well use them. So
Yeah.
I'll check with Baines.
Thank you.
So I'll send you an email to make an appointment, okay, to get together.
That'd be really good.
And of course, not only was it flooded near us, but I think the road was flooded as well near the mill, wasn't it?
Yes,
Tunbridge.
yes.
So how long was that flooded for?
2 hours.
Oh gosh. Hmm. What I'd like is the link to the gauge. I'll send you an email asking you for that.
Is there anybody else who would be prepared to send in information about their roads, the state of their roads in their village or parish?
Pam Young's got her hand up,
Pam?
Lynn.
Oh yeah, Pam.
I'm Hinton Blewett parish councillor, and 2 of the roads that lead into Hinton Blewett are frequently flooded for cars.
Right.
That's the road from Hinton Blewett towards Bishop Sutton.
I know, yeah.
And the road, instead of going down to Bishop Sutton, if you turn right, you go past Stowey Quarry, and that road is quite often completely flooded.
Right.
So from the A37 side coming into the village, or from Bishop Sutton, it's quite difficult to get in unless you've got a 4-wheel drive, really.
Right.
And the other roads going out of the village, we have Coley Hill, which is in such bad condition that hardly any cars can go up or down it because of just bad road condition. And the other road, which is Woodcombe Hill, that's another road that's quite bad too. So we have got particular problems, but it's used as a shortcut quite often from people from one side of the valley to the other. So I would be interested in joining a forum if
Thank you.
necessary.
That would be fabulous. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Lewis? Lewis?
Christopher
Lewis, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Hello, I've only just put my hand up. I'm sure I'm not
Yeah.
first in the queue.
Did you mean to?
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you because she's always been ahead of the curve in terms of the flood wardens, and I'm not quite sure how far the networks extend. I was just wondering, really, a couple of things. Is that rather than sort of have eyes on the ground, which I'm sure can't be beaten, I do wonder if there's any way of picking out the really high risk spots and whether there's any sort of automated flood sensor that you can have that could be concentrated at the really risky spots that we know flood regularly. The other thing I was wondering was whether there would be any scope for some sort of website where people could just self-report on a map.
Yes.
You know, that you could have and people could just sign in and do that rather than sort of ringing around and having something if it was a sort of self-reporting thing. And my final thought was again on the gentleman's point about sort of drain clearage and do we have any sway with I don't know if it's the council or Bristol Water who are responsible for keeping them clear, because it does seem when I'm driving around and there's flooding that it's often where the drains have not been cleared recently, and whether there's a program for that and whether we can do anything to influence the frequency that those are cleared. So those are just my thoughts.
That's really helpful, thank you. And I think one of the things I would like to do is to not have it too official, so that it's people, I don't want people to feel I can't put this up because if it goes wrong, you know, I'll be in trouble. I want it to be more free flowing than that. But thank you, Chris, that's really good. James? Sorry? Sarah Jane. I'm so sorry. I'd be much better if this was in a hall with a flip chart. Right. Sarah Jane.
Hi, sorry, I think I was the last one to put my hand up, but I just want to let you know that in Chewstoke, we obviously, you know, we've got the Ford, which sort of does what it's in some ways what it's meant to do. But we're looking with, well, the EA have contacted us, and we're looking at installing some telemetry on the wall there by the ford that will give us much better real-time information about what's going on with the ford. We're just sort of looking at ownership of the wall and whether we can actually put the gadget on the wall, but that's sort of in the pipeline, and hopefully will be much more useful. So if that can be sort of rolled out to other councils.
Well, can I just say, you will find it wonderful. We've got a telemetry device on the brook and on the river, and the really good thing about it is you can access it from your phone, so you don't have to keep running out in the rain and seeing what's going on. And it's, once you've calibrated it, it's an invaluable resource. So I think that's brilliant that you're having that.
Good, thank you. Yeah, we use the river app, but well, as we found last night, or the night before, it all sort of went down at 1:41 a.m. didn't it?
1:45. Yeah. So shall we? I don't want to take up the whole. I could carry on and on, but shall we just
Lynn,
say?
sorry to interrupt you, Lynn. I think Sam's been waiting. She's got a hand up.
Oh.
Sam Ross has got a hand up. You've also got a lot of comments in the chat, which is all very positive. People giving suggestions and being part of wanting to be part of the group. But I think Sam was waiting, and then I think Clive wanted to come in after that as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Sam? No?
Sam, we can't hear you, so I don't know whether.
Sorry, I was going to say, excuse me for having the wrong name on there. I'm not on my council computer, but I'm the ward councillor for Clutton and Farnborough. So part of my ward is technically within Chew Valley, or classified as part of that, and that's Chelwood and Clutton. I know that Clutton does have flood wardens. I don't know quite what they do with that, but they obviously have a lot of flooding in the middle of the village. There was a hell of a lot yesterday and today around the bottom of Clutton Hill. It becomes impassable, and even Lower Bristol Road does as well, and these are well known sort of cut throughs for a lot of people coming either from the Chew Valley across towards Bath or vice versa to get back into the Chew Valley. And obviously everyone knows about Chelwood. The council has done a lot of work at the bottom of the hill to try and alleviate flooding, but there is still standing water that gets there. It just moves off the road a lot quicker than it used to onto the Scout area. But I think my one point really, and I noticed Dave Harding's here as well, you know, we are local ward councillors, and if you're reporting stuff to the council, please do include us so that we know the extent of what's going on. It's very easy to stick stuff on Fix My Street or report it, and quite often we don't then actually know what's happening. And so when we have a bit of evidence to say there's a lot of flooding in certain areas, it does actually give it a weight to it, rather than just being lots of tiny little events that people are putting online which get fixed or don't get fixed. With regard to Christopher's question about the clearing of drains, unfortunately with rural lanes it only gets done once a year, and that could happen any time in the year. So it could happen literally a week before the leaves come off the trees, and then it won't get done again until the next year, a week before the leaves come off the trees, unless there's some real major incident where something has to be cleared. But there are two different types of drain blockage. There's sort of the top of the grill, and there's the under chamber of the drain, and so if the top bit is covered, they will come out and clear that. So if you've got like impacted mud and leaves, say, in the top of a drain because it's been washed through by or shoved in there through heavy rain, then it is important to put those ones on Fix My Street, because there will be a team that will come around and take that out, and you might find that the underlying sort of chamber underneath is clear. It's the top that's stopping it going down. But unfortunately at the moment there's a lot of standing water, there's a lot of stuff coming off of fields, and it's very difficult to solve this. So but I think there is a need to have something that alerts people to where they can go when roads are closed, even if they're not officially closed yet, but they're closed as a result of water, which would be dangerous for people go through. I'm not sure where we can take this really. I'm sort of looking in the direction of Sarah and Alison. I'm not sure that this is probably a council thing that needs to be sort of developed, and it will require sort of, I think, what Christopher and has been alluding to, and that it needs to be sort of people kind of populated when things happen, so it goes up there, and then that would inform the council as well to put up signs if they need to, but I don't think it could be done through Fix My Street, because I think that's a sort of
too long.
It's also a national it's not a BAME specific thing. It's a national kind of website which BAME just has its own bit on. Anyway, I've said more than enough, but I just think my main point was like, do use your ward councillors as well, because we are here to sort of know what's going on.
If I can just come in there too, we have 3 leaf clears a year with the village, all turning out to clear a drain near them. And we have an adopt a drain policy that you adopt a drain that's near your house to keep it clear. And then if it does get impacted, we can put it on Fix My Street. But I think it's too much at the moment to ask the council to do all these things. I think if people want, you know, it's good if you can just include people and get them to do a little bit each, and that really helps. Thank you though, Sam, that's really helpful.
One thing I've agreed for Stowe Sutton is to prepare a map with the hotspots, because there are certain areas where they flood and you know the water's going to run off. It's never going to get deep enough to cause trouble. You just need to drive through slowly. And so I'll share that with you, Lynn, as well, because I know you've got areas in Chew as well. And the other thing is, I look after the gullies near my house, but as soon as it rains very heavily, they do block up, not just with leaves and twigs, but also number plates, car underskirts and everything. They drive through so fast that they're ripped off. There are 2 there, 2 number plates there from yesterday. So it'd be good to have a mechanism for informing our parishioners about the safe driving through floodwater. Maybe we can talk about that and how to broadcast that and bring some ideas together. Okay.
Thank you, Clive, and thank you everybody. And we'll pull something together after the forum. If you can put your name forward, Sarah, will you collate that?
Yeah, we will. So we'll make sure that we've picked up everybody's comments in the chat, and obviously pick up people's comments at this meeting. And just to pick up Sam's point that she raised about obviously involving the council, one of the ideas that we had with Lynn was making sure that we had a representative from emergency planning and the highways drainage team, so that on your working group you've got some advisors there that can feed into the conversation and hear your feedback as well. So so we'll make sure that they're in attendance as well at that working group meeting.
Thank you all so much. That's really heartening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, thanks everybody. That's really good. Right, so moving on to agenda item number 4. And we're doing okay for time, actually, just checking. So this is climate and nature updates. So we've set aside quite some time to do this because there's really a lot of exciting work and projects that have been going on in the forum area, which I do think people will find of interest. So we've got a series of speakers, including some presentations. Can I suggest that if you have a burning question, that you put that in the chat box and we'll try and pick that up. Otherwise, we'll hear all of the presenters and then take questions at the end. But yeah, don't feel that you have to sit on your hands completely. Just put those questions into the chat box, please. So firstly, we've got Stuart Gardner, who's the Nature Recovery Manager who works with the council. So Stuart, over to you.
Thanks, Lynn. Can I just check you can hear me okay? Because sometimes my speaker, my headset is a bit dodgy sometimes. I will share my screen for my presentation. And I assume everyone can see that okay. Let me know if not. So, thank you. Yeah, I'm just moving things around on my screen so I can actually present it. Which is, okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to play around on my screen because unfortunately Teams is getting in the way of me being able to actually present my screen. There we go. Apologies about that. So I'm going to be talking today about parish and town nature action plans, which is a concept that the council has rolled out recently. And I should probably introduce myself properly as well after dealing with the tech. So as been said, I'm Stuart. I work at the council as a nature recovery manager, and I'm also at the moment working on or leading the development of the nature recovery strategy for the whole West of England region, and I'll talk very briefly about that at the end, which is also relevant. So just set a bit of the context for starters as to why we've produced these nature action plans. So as you all know, or some of you will know, Baines Council declared an ecological emergency a few years ago in 2021. The reasoning behind that was the drastic decline in nature, both nationally and regionally. So the graph I have here is the count of the number of starlings across the West of England region, or the old Avon region, from 1995 to 2019. So for every 100 counted back in 1995, there are about 25 counted at the moment. That coupled with our reliance on a healthy natural environment, so obviously our society, our economy is embedded in the environment, means that this is an emergency, something we need to address alongside the climate emergency. We produced an action plan for the council to help tackle the ecological emergency, obviously recognising that there's only so much council can do, but we need to play our part. That was produced last year and includes a number of actions organised into a number of themes. And one of those actions was to produce guidance and a template to support parish and town councils in producing what we then called local nature action plans. We've since referred to those as parish and town nature action plans. And this is building on work done in South Gloucestershire Council. They produced a template for what they call local nature action plans. That's been really successful, and a lot of parish town councils have taken that up, produced their own nature action plans, and been using that to inform and accelerate action locally to support nature recovery, and sometimes action on the climate as well. I know some of the parish town councils there have coupled the two together. So this month, it's still February, isn't it? I believe it was this month. We sent out some guidance to parish and town councils around nature action plans. So I wanted to give an overview here of what they are and why we've done this. So the idea behind nature action plans is effectively that they will help facilitate parish and town councils to take action on nature recovery and address the ecological emergency. So it's a way for parish town councils basically to set out what they'll do to achieve that, and also map what they have in the area already in terms of nature assets, any opportunities for nature recovery that there are in the area, and potential actions that could be taken to help wildlife, to help nature in their locality. I'll talk about the guidance in the template in a minute, but it's just worth highlighting this isn't prescriptive or statutory, so we're not telling people they have to do it. It's a guidance, it's a template for those parish town councils that want to do it, that find it useful to do it. There's no specific formula for producing one, although we've provided a template, and it doesn't have a formal role in the planning system, but it could inform the relevant neighbourhood plan if you wished, and obviously we'd encourage that to be the case, and could be informed by the neighbourhood plan as well. So we sent out this guidance and a template for nature action plans, as I said recently. Effectively, that brings together tips on how to produce a plan, how to make it as relevant as possible, how to work with stakeholders in doing that. As I said, a template for writing one, so what different headings it could include, different elements it could include, some ideas on potential actions that could be included in a nature action plan, alongside some hopefully helpful sources of information from organisations like the Wildlife Trust, the Rivers Trust, the Woodland Trust, etc., etc. And we also included, as an appendix, a list of some relevant local organisations and groups that it might be useful to work with. There's a lot of expertise across the area both within parish town councils, but also outside of them. There are local environmental groups that we've tried to link to those, but I'm sure each area is going to have its own local experts that we may or may not be aware of, and we definitely would encourage parish town councils to work collaboratively when producing any nature action plan. Try and make best use of any local expertise in your area, and obviously Baines Council, we're here to help, is the message. We're not going to write the plan for you, that wouldn't be appropriate. We want to enable and empower parish town councils, given you're the experts on your local area, and not write plans on your behalf. But obviously there's information we have regarding the natural environment across the whole of Baines and the west of England, which might be relevant. So we're very happy to help where we can. So having said all that, I thought it'd be useful just to provide an example of what this might actually look like. It's always easier seeing an example rather than trying to explain it. So as I said, some councils, parish town councils in South Gloucestershire have produced some of these plans. Crampton Cotterell are one of them. They're lucky enough to have a climate and nature officer, which means they've had a good amount of resource to produce one of these, and they're very on it in terms of this, and generally on climate and nature. So as you can see, they've got a series of aims, and I've just highlighted one of these, but one of them is to increase connectivity through the creation of wildlife corridors and habitats. And they've got a number of actions in there that range from conducting tree surveys, planting hedges and trees, creating long grass zones for insects, small mammals and birds, improving park management, and providing wildlife homes such as bug hotels. So there's more in there, and I can't fit it all on one slide, but it just gives an idea as to what an action plan might look like. So it doesn't have to be massively complex, but it's just a way of kind of bringing together ideas, hopefully creating new ideas, and setting out clearly to yourselves and the community what you can do to help nature. And just another note, I won't spend too much time on this slide because there's a lot here, but there's a series of targets or ambitions, it's better to say, for nature recovery across the region, across the whole of West of England. We've adjusted those for Baines, and they are on our website on the Ecological Emergency Action Plan section. And the idea is that these nature action plans together will help us to achieve these targets, and to achieve nature recovery across the district. So things like increasing the abundance of priority species, increasing tree and woodland cover, more habitat, improving the quality of our water bodies, and our designated sites. So that's me finished on nature action plans. I just wanted to point to another thing coming up that's relevant to this. As I said, I'm managing the production of a formerly called a nature recovery strategy, but what we're going to be referring to as a nature recovery toolkit for the whole of the west of England. So that's including North Somerset, South Gloucestershire and Bristol. And that will be setting focus areas for nature recovery across the region, and priorities for nature recovery across the region, which is required by legislation for every nature recovery strategy across England. But importantly, we want to make this an interactive product. So once it's finished, the idea is that as a user, you'd be able to go to your local area, see what the relevant priorities are for nature recovery, potential measures to achieve those priorities, some priority species in your area, and also links to funding and guidance for each of the measures for nature recovery. So although this is a whole West of England tool, I think it could be useful for parish town councils once it's ready, to inform action and give a bit more of a sense of how your locality fits into the wider landscape scale picture. So the final version won't be ready until probably July, but we're going to public consultation on the draft version in March, hopefully mid-March. So keep an eye out for that. It will be well publicised, and will be on the Combined Authority website, but we'll publicise it as well through Baines, and I'll make sure to send an email out to the Parish Town Council list with that. And then I'll put this link in the chat, the link to our guidance on Parish Town Council action plans as well. Nature action plans, sorry. So thank you very much for giving me the time to speak. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Happy to answer any questions as well in the chat, obviously.
That's great. Thanks very much indeed, Stuart. And I'm sure there'll be some questions arising from your presentation. So are you all right waiting until the other presentations are finished? Fantastic.
Of course, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I think we've got Dave Wood next. Yes. Yep. Dave Wood, we know you as obviously a district councillor, but you're here tonight in your capacity as Chief Executive of Avon Needs Trees to give us an update in terms of the exciting projects that are going on within the valley. So over to you, Dave. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Heather. Can you see my screen from your end?
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. So here tonight, as Ed said, on behalf of Avon Needs Trees, talk about the Lower Chew Forest, which people might have heard reference to in the media over the last few weeks. So where I've got quite short time, so I'm going to rattle through this, and then of course time for questions too. So here we are. So Avon Needs Trees, the Bristol-based charity, formed in 2019 to create new permanent woodlands throughout the Bristol River Avon catchment area. Current projects, people might be aware of Great Avon Wood, 113-acre site near Pensford, where we're currently in the process of planting up to 40,000 trees. And then slightly further afield, we have Hazeland and Puddingbrook Wood, 2 sites in North Wiltshire, where planting is complete, and Edwards near Shepton Mallet, where also planting is complete. So why does Avon, the River Avon, need trees? So we've lost much of our woodland over recent decades and centuries. Currently, the west of England has around 7.8 woodland cover, which is well below the UK average of 13.2, so we're lagging behind considerably. But why do trees matter? So trees sequester carbon, which is important for slowing the climate emergency. As you'll be very aware, 41% of UK species are in decline. Woodland creation helps to create habitats that brings back nature, and woodlands in the right places for the right reasons help to create natural flood defences, and of course volunteers who come and plant trees improves health, well-being, skills and other outcomes. People might have seen reference to in recent times. So we're currently fundraising to buy the land that creates the future Lower Chew Forest. And this is Wick Farm, a 422-acre site near Compton Dando. So often a bit hard to imagine what the size of a site might be, but 422 acres is fairly substantial. Think about larger than the site of Lee Woods, for example, in future woodland creation, or bigger than Clifton Downs and Durden Downs combined. So the location, Compton Dando, just between Compton Dando and Hun Street, Marksbury, down at the lower end of the Chew. And the objectives for this, restoring habitats, regenerative farming, connectivity, woodland, hedgerow and so on, natural flood management downstream, soil and river health, and a place for people. So what does that mean? What we plan to do? Planting 100,000 trees or more, connectivity between existing woodlands. There's a number of ancient woodlands and other woodlands around that this forest would connect for habitat. Creation of species-rich grassland, wetlands and leaky dams for natural flood management, and planting 5 miles of new hedgerows. And this is thinking about operating on a landscape scale, which is really important. Operating across a wider scale brings much more benefits than operating at a smaller scale for a range of reasons. So in terms of size, this would be the biggest new woodland creation project in the southwest of England in the last generation, with lots of benefits that come from that. We've mentioned natural flood management, biodiversity and carbon sequestration, improvement to soil quality and stabilisation, water quality and also air quality. Climate resilient agriculture is a key one, and of course public engagement and education. And in terms of people, so we have more than 1,000 volunteers and rising each year that will help us to plant Lower Chew Forest. We run free education and wellbeing events, as well as our skills course that helps to get people into the green economy. And we're hoping to create more on-site opportunities and public access at the site as well. So that's kind of like a brief kind of whistle-stop tour, but how you can support us. So we're currently crowdfunding. to try and secure the purchase of the site. So you can either go to avonleastrees.org.uk or search Avon Least Trees crowdfunder in your individual sort of preferred search engine. And I'd like to thank you very much for listening to this brief rush presentation, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dave. If we could keep questions until the end of all the presentations, but again, to remind people, if you have something particularly pressing, put it into the chat box, please. But we should have time at the end to pick up questions. So thanks, Dave. Now handing over to Simon Hunter, who is the Chief Executive of BART, that's the Bristol Avon Rivers Trust, and is quite a celebrity, having been on Radio 4 on Monday morning, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. So there we go.
You're being too kind. Thank you very much. Hopefully I will do this fluidly, but after seeing what happened to Dave, I'm quite fearful. Let's give it a go. Okay. Can you see? So I am waiting for it to load into presentation mode. Give it a second. Has that worked?
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction. So I am Simon Hunter. So I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Bristol Avon Rivers Trust. For those of you that aren't aware of who we are or what we do, we're essentially a charity that has been established to try and create a excellent future for the health of our rivers, for the benefit of people and wildlife that live throughout the Bristol Avon. So we're one of 64 local delivery rivers trusts under the overarching National Rivers Trusts across the UK. And our patch is basically the whole of the Bristol Avon, all of its tributaries, which takes you through North Somerset into Bristol, through Baines into Wiltshire, up in South Gloss as well. So we cover quite a large expanse, and we've been doing quite a lot recent years in the River Chew and across Baines in general. So I was going to give you a bit of a reason, why we do what we do, but then also look at some of the local delivery that we've been doing and some of the things that are in the pipeline. So bear with me. Right. So why do we do what we do? Well, the status of freshwater ecosystems, unfortunately, is under threat, and it is declining faster than those on the land and in the oceans. In fact, twice as fast. A third of all freshwater species are threatened with extinction, and we've seen a 93% collapse of migratory fish species in Europe between 1970 and 2016. And our salmon stocks are currently among the lowest on record and are below sustainable levels in many rivers. So it's really clear that whatever we're doing at the moment isn't happening at the rate that we need to reverse that awful trend that we're seeing to some of our freshwater species. And that's the global sort of European picture. So what does it look like in the Bristol Avon? Well, it's not a much greater picture actually, but that graph that map you can see on the right hand side, it should be, all green, lovely green rivers, showing that all of our rivers are reaching what we call good ecological status under the European Water Framework Directive, which is legislation on how we sort of assess and the status of our watercourses. The initial aim for this legislation was to reach good ecological status across all of our watercourses by 2027. Unfortunately, we've stagnated, forgive the pun, but we're just at 14% nationally, and we're actually below that in the Bristol Avon. We're around sort of the 12% mark. So there's a long way to go to reach the level of good health that our wildlife needs to thrive, but also that people, can enter and enjoy recreation safely within. So what are we doing about that? Well, locally, we've been doing lots of work, and I think one of the big breakthroughs for us personally, and anyone that enjoys being on rivers, is trying to deliver a plan to restore our watercourses. And one of the mechanisms that we've created through the Bristol Avon Catchment Partnership is the creation of what we call the Bristol Avon Fish Recovery Strategy. And this is a document and a strategy document that sits alongside the West of England strategies, such as the Woodland Creation Strategy. It's sat within the West of England Nature Partnership and across the Catchment Partnership as well. And our partners, including local authorities, are beginning now to deliver against this strategy. So it kind of shines a light on the blue bits in our landscape. As a consequence of the strategy, which sets out some high-level principles about how we tackle this problem and how we improve our rivers, it was quite clear that the River Chew is one of probably the main priorities in the Bristol Avon for fish recovery. We know that we've got some amazing species within the Chew. We know that it's got a small run of Atlantic salmon. We've got lamprey near the confluence of the Avon. We've also got the critically endangered European eel, amongst a whole host of different coarse fish that frequent throughout the catchment. And through some of the DNA work that we've done, looking at sort of sampling some of the tributaries, we found salmon on the Barford Brook and lower down potentially spawning, which is quite fascinating. But the graph you can see on the left on this slide here, I won't go into the detail, but it's a downward curve, and that's basically the same site that's been monitored by the Environment Agency over the course of 20 years, and you can see the abundance and numbers of species at that particular site is deteriorating. So we're trying to build a plan now through this strategy that will enable the delivery of key projects that will improve the access to and quality of habitat for those key fish species. So that's basically summarising this action plan that I mentioned to you. So again, it's supported by partners of the Bristol Avon Catchment Partnership, including the Environment Agency, including Natural England, including BAMES and other groups as well that sit amongst this. And we are just about, I think, finalising this action plan. Once we do, it will be made accessible. So particularly through the forum, it would be great to sort of maybe present in the future around what this looks like and how and where some of these interventions and projects could take place across the River Chew. We're already delivering for it though, which is fantastic. BART's been quite successful in a number of funding pots over the past 12 months, and this one's a really exciting one. We're sort of getting ahead of the game at trying to restore a couple of our spawning tributaries. So the Barford Brook and the Candlestick Brook, so near Woolard and down in Compton Dando. We're working with landowners there to look at interventions to improve the river habitat, so looking at restoration techniques, looking at putting large woody debris into rivers, looking at working with landowners to reduce the impact of livestock, looking at options to improve the riparian strip, so again riparian planting, riparian management as well where it's overgrown. And if you are clever and you've got this phone, a smartphone, you can click on that little what looks like a barcode, QR code in the corner, and it'll take you to a video and tell you more information about this specific project. So that's ongoing, and we're delivering. I think we've just finished some river restoration in the last couple of weeks on the Candlestick Brook, and I think we've got a wetland being designed at the moment, which will be implemented later this year. And we're designing other interventions as well on the Barford Brook, which again will be delivered later in the year. We're also looking at what we can do to improve the access to our rivers, particularly the Chew. This is Cambridgeshire Memorial Park Weir, and it's owned by Bath and North East Somerset Council. We're working collaboratively with both themselves and the Environment Agency to look at ways that we can perhaps improve the quality of the river that flows through the park. So thinking from a biodiversity, but as well as an amenity space. And we're exploring options at the moment. So we're modelling, doing a lot of hydrological modelling. We're looking at ways that perhaps we can adjust or remove sections of this weir to allow better fish passage, but also perhaps how we could restore the river, through the park to create greater amenity as well. So that's a project that's sort of bubbling away, and we're making sort of good progress towards finding what that sort of preferred outcome might be. I thought I'd also show you a couple of case studies of some nature-based solutions. So again, it's one of these buzzwords going around at the moment. And this is some stuff, actually, it was quite interesting listening to the conversation earlier around sort of Chelwood and the flooding. This is in Chelwood. It hasn't tackled the whole problem, but is certainly helping to alleviate some of the issues associated with surface water that's running off some of our fields. This particular scheme was quite interesting. It was designed collaboratively with a landowner who was experiencing issue with a lot of soil loss, alongside having to maintain his ditch network 3 or 4 times a year, which was causing concern, potentially causing build-up of sediment, which was causing some of the flooding to the highway network. So we looked at what the potential was to try and slow the flow of water on the landscape, but also to try and reduce the sediment and nutrient loading. So again, thinking about, this is a key spawning tributary. This is the right at the top of the Candlestick Brook. And also how we could create a wildlife corridor that adjoins to historic woodlands. So there's lots of sort of multiple benefits linked to this. And the solution was to create what we call a 3D buffer strip, and work with the landowner to sort of amend the way that he was doing things on his land. And the outcome is this really. So before, on the left-hand side in Jan 2021, you can see the headwater stream there on the left-hand side. So that was the source of the Candlestick stream. All of the nutrients being sort of poured into that from the start. And on the right-hand side, you can see this amazing buffer strip. It's 10 to 15 meters wide in places, and it's created by a number of what we call bunded scrapes. So essentially the water comes straight off the field. It filters through this lovely sort of rough ground. The water then holds in these little ponds that we've built. The capacity is quite big. We've got 5 of them over the course. And the water then sort of evaporates or infiltrates slowly. If it reaches a certain level, it will spill through a pipe, but the sediments, the nutrients drop out, and it enables the soil to stay on the field, enables the headwater stream to remain clean, and it provides this really valuable nature-rich corridor through what is quite an intense sort of agricultural landscape. And these are all photos that I took in November. These sediment traps that look at the biodiversity of vegetation popping up. We've got sedges and rushes starting to colonize. None of that has been planted. It's all succession. The conditions are right for this. We've seen that we've actually got sort of dragonfly laying eggs now in some of these features, and we've also got, we think, voles starting to populate some of the tussocks that are starting to grow in that space. So it's a year and a half of maturity, but this could be scaled up. And this is something that I think is really exciting and could be an opportunity to work with a number of landowners to sort of recreate. Another case study I quickly wanted to show you was a wetland creation that we delivered near Pensford. Many of you may have seen this. It's on the public right of way. Again, we work with the landowner to sort of take it away from its former life, which was sort of high intensity floodplain grazing, sort of low biodiversity ryegrass. And what we've tried to do is slow the flow of sort of surface water. We've also created an amazing sort of biodiverse habitat in this space. And we've created what we call a semi-permanent wetland. And we've also installed, I think, about 500 metre long native hedgerow, which helps sort of compartmentalise the field, sort of creating, again, a corridor for wildlife to travel. So this is what it looks like now. So top left is construction just over a year ago, and on the right hand side, that's the wetland. I think probably only 8 to 9 months afterwards. We've already seen snipe visit the site. We've got an array of dragonfly, again, sort of colonising, starting to lay eggs. We've worked with volunteers all the way throughout this. We've engaged local communities, and we've got this amazing signage up as well, explaining what we've done, how we've done it, and why we've done it. And we hope, again, it's something that we can sort of scale up across the Chew Valley. It's habitat that we've, hugely lost through land drainage and is vital if we're serious about nature recovery. So how are we trying to scale this up? Well, this is something that we're working on at the moment. Quite excitingly, we applied to the West of England Combined Authorities Green Recovery Scheme with a proposal for forming a farm cluster across the River Chew, but also into the Cam and Wellow catchment. So one big sort of joining sweep of land. So we're looking at landscape recovery. And through the work that we've been doing with landowners, we believe that there's an opportunity for us to coordinate this as a charity, to bring together farmers. It's got to be farm led. So we want to understand, what are the issues that our farmers and how can we take some of that sort of paperwork away from them? How can we design schemes together, again, with the landowners, but also with other ENGOs, with the people like the Wildlife Trust Saving These Trees? How can we collaborate and work with all these farmers to create these nature recovery plans and help them access some of the funding to do so? So the whole idea is that we've gone in for this coordinated sort of project officer for 2 years, and with the hope that we can bring together a number of landowners to deliver and reach some of these sort of West of England sort of targets that Stuart shared on his slides. And this at the moment is going through the detailed business case. So we were approved at sort of the EOI stage, and now comes the hard work. But we hope in a month or two's time, the hard work will pay off, and this could be a blueprint for sort of lifting elsewhere across the Bristol Avon and further afield. And from a volunteer perspective, we have really ramped up our citizen science projects throughout the Chew Valley very recently. We've got different levels of volunteering that people can participate in. I know a number of you may be familiar with this through some of the work that my colleague Amy and her team are doing. We've got our annual River Blitz, which is amazing. It gives us an indication of what the river looks like in terms of water quality once a year. And then we've got our levels up. So if you're really interested in monitoring a particular site near yourself from a biodiversity perspective, from a water quality perspective, we've got schemes set up. So we're trying to collect all this data to provide a baseline, which we can then use alongside more scientific volunteering, surveys and monitoring through working with the water industry, through working with the Environment Agency, and help fill those gaps. So we're creating a baseline, and then we're hopefully going to use this data to show our progress as well once our rivers begin to improve through the delivery of a lot of this work. So there's so much more I could probably ramble on about, but that's probably where I'll leave it. So thank you very much. And yeah, welcome your questions.
Thank you, Simon. That's great. I think what's striking me is how the three of you, in terms of your presentation, how it's all sort of linking together. It's fantastic. But again, if we can hold any questions either in the chat or until the end of all the presentations, that would be great. So we've now got Guy Norfolk, who is chair of the Chew Valley Nature Recovery Group. Guy is going to explain and give us an update on the work of that group. So over to Guy.
Thank you, Heather. I'm going to try and share my screen. I'm struggling already, needless to say. Can you see anything there?
Not yet.
I can try doing it, Guy, if you want me to risk it again.
Can you, Alison? If you don't mind, that'd be wonderful.
Let's give it another go.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you, Alison.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alison. So to begin with, I thought it'd be helpful just to give a brief reminder of who and what we are. So if I can go to the next slide, Alison, please. So the Chew Valley Nature Recovery Network evolved from the nature group of this forum's former Climate and Nature Emergency Working Group, which is now disbanded. We have a steering group of 13 members, which includes representatives from local nature groups, parish councils, members from this forum, farmers and local volunteers. We meet bi-monthly and we work to a set of terms of reference which set out our aims and objectives. Next slide, please, Alison. So I'm not going to go through all these aims, you can read them yourselves, but to summarise, basically our ambition is to rejuvenate, restore and revive nature in the Chew River catchment area, thus enhancing the natural environment for the benefit of us all. Next slide, please. And how do we plan to meet these aims? Well, the first thing to emphasise is that we're not a new nature group as such. We are rather a network of people. So what we hope to do is to link up the many groups and individuals already active in nature recovery throughout the Chew Valley, thereby facilitating a collaborative approach that can help identify and pool resources, expertise, project opportunities, whilst avoiding unnecessary duplication. Also, another important part of our work is by, for example, having a chair on this, a seat on this forum, and also on the Chew Valley Reconnected Partnership Board, we hope to facilitate two-way communication with parishes and with BANES, thus maximising the reach and influence of community groups. Next slide, please, Alison. So we're currently focusing our energy on 3 projects, namely a website, developing a local nature recovery toolkit, and Chew Valley Nature Fest. Next slide, please. The website, in order to link up all the various groups and individuals active in nature recovery, to disseminate information, to share expertise, to signpost volunteering opportunities and so on, we recognise the importance of having a strong online presence. So we've therefore commissioned a professional website design service to design a website for us. We've sought funding for this project from local parish councils throughout the Chew River catchment area, and we've so far had responses from 6 of those that we've approached. 2 have been unable to assist, but we're extremely grateful to parish councils of Stowe Sutton, Norton Malreward, Compton Dando and Chew Magda that have all committed or promised to commit funds to help design the website. We've got our unique URL, which is www.cvnrn.org, and hopefully the website will be up and running in the next month or so. Next slide, please. We've also been working hard on developing a local nature recovery toolkit. Stuart's already alluded to the local nature recovery strategies, which are a statutory requirement under the Environment Act 2021, and it's we certainly envisage that the local nature recovery plans will feed into those broader, more regional nature recovery strategies. BAINS is very much ahead of the curve and has already published guidance for parish and town guidance councils, which provides a framework for how those parishes and town councils can produce local nature recovery plans. Next slide, please. Our local nature recovery toolkit is a much more practical step-by-step guide to help parishes produce a local nature recovery plan. The first step in doing this is to map local wildlife habitats, identifying where the most important places for nature are and why they matter. And once we know what we have in our local areas, we can then indicate and mark out where we can create or improve habitats. We recognise that these local nature recovery plans are going to be major pieces of work for parish councils, and we see a very important role for volunteers in assisting with this work. And there again, that's where we hope the network will be able to mobilise these volunteers in working with our toolkit. Next slide, please. So this is just an example of what the toolkit provides. It identifies a whole range of different habitats that we can look at. One of those is hedgerows. The beginning of the section on hedgerows details why hedgerows are so important in our local environment, and then it sets out some survey questions that volunteers can go out and when they're undertaking the survey. So whether the hedgerows are intact or defunct, whether they're species rich, species poor, whether there's trees, whether there's another hedgerow or woodland close by that can be connected, the whole thing about linking up and making nature corridors and so on. So those are the sorts of questions that you'll be undertaking when you do a hedgerow survey. And next slide, please. The toolkit then sets out the advised symbology that you'll use for your mapping, so the different ways you'll be able to map the various different hedgerows that have been identified following your habitat surveys. So that's our local nature recovery toolkit. It's pretty close to completion at the moment, and once finished it will be published. It will obviously put on our website and sent round to parishes so that hopefully we can get some important work started along these lines. Next slide, please. And the last piece of work we're currently spending a lot of time on at the moment is Chew Valley Nature Fest, a day of family fun and nature recovery. A date for all your diaries, please, is Sunday 30th of June 2024. It was originally planned for the 9th of June, but we realised we were clashing with the Chew Valley 10K run, so we've moved it a little bit later in the month to the 30th of June. This is an event that's going to be hosted at Chew Magna School. The school's very kindly agreed to let us use their fantastic facilities. And the event's going to focus on what we can all do as individuals and families and communities to help restore nature in the Chew Valley. It's going to be a fun and educational environment. There's going to be a morning of stalls, exhibits and activities tailored particularly at children and families, followed by an afternoon session of keynote presentations and a question and answer. Mike Dilger, the local personality and star of BBC's One Show, has already kindly agreed to give one of the afternoon presentations and will be hosting a bug hunt for children in the morning. So that's the sort of thing we'll be doing. Bristol Avon Rivers Trust will be there, Avon Needs Trees will be there, and lots of other local groups will be there running stalls and educational activities and fun activities for children and families. So do please make a note of the date. There'll obviously be more information about it nearer the time. But so those are the three main things we're working on, and I thank you for your attention.
Sorry, thank you very much indeed, Guy. Just to clarify for my thinking, I think the venue for that day will be Chew Valley School rather than Chew Magna School. Am I correct in thinking that?
Sorry, Chew Valley School. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And again, we'll take questions at the end of presentations. And now we're moving on to Jackie Head. And Jackie is talking on behalf of the Chew Valley Sustainable Transport Group. So over to you, Jackie.
Hi, thanks very much. I'm going to risk sharing my screen as well. Let's see if it works. So I wanted to just give you a bit of an update. If you can, everybody see that okay? I can't see you, so can somebody say yes?
Yes, it's fine. Thanks, Jackie.
Great. Okay, so it's just really a very whistle-stop catch up on what's happening locally about sustainable transport, whether that's buses or active travel or what's going on with planes. So most of you will be familiar with Westlink. And our group has been very involved in working alongside the West of England Combined Authority, trying to educate people about the scheme, provide sort of ways through to make it more effective for you. And we have a Facebook page called Bus Transition in the Chew Valley, which provides a lot of information and connection and support for people. We meet regularly with the Westlink team, and if you ever have a problem with Westlink, we would encourage you to get in touch with us because we can raise issues as they go along. And that's one of the things that's provided by the Bus Service Improvement Plan funding. The intention of Westlink when it was set up was to do short hops, so one village to the next village or a village to a main corridor. Actually, it's tended to be used for longer journeys, so people coming can technically join in Bath and go across to Weston-super-Mare at the moment. It's likely in the future that the zone boundaries will be redrawn, so that people are more encouraged to use it as a kind of connector to fixed routes rather than for those very long journeys. And I think there is an intention to do a lot more of an education program for people on how they can use it that way. The other thing that's happening locally was that the West Local Fund was launched last autumn. One of the things that our group has done is joined with others to put in a bid for West Local. I don't have anything to report about that bid, but I thought it might be useful to just know what the bid was so that people were aware of it. So people who are successful in the bid would be granted a 1-year bus service with the potential to extend to 2 years. And it's very limited what West Local can fund. It has to be innovative, it has to be new routes, and crucially, it has to be designed by local communities. And just to show you what our sort of outline proposal was, it was based on a survey we did, which we reported in a report called Getting to Work on Time. And we identified that one of the things that was problematic with Westlink was that people couldn't book ahead. So the proposal is for a bus that can be booked 1 week ahead, but can still have an hop-on option if somebody wants to decide on the day to join the bus. The proposal was for a Monday to Friday service, excluding bank holidays, and just one trip in to Bristol from Chew Valley locations and one trip out each day, based around the timings that seem to be the most popular in the survey. It would have a membership scheme underpinning it, so that if you wanted to book, you'd need to join the membership scheme, but that would be free. And the pricing would be set equivalent to Westlink. Part of the vision of the scheme was that people would walk or cycle or take an e-bike or a Westlink to one of 3 hubs within the Chew Valley. And so the bid was put in by a combination of three sort of elements working together that called itself the Chew Valley CIC Sustainable Transport Partnership, a bit of a mouthful. But Chew Valley CIC, some of you will know, is the organisation that provides community transport, particularly for people going to hospital appointments and such like. Transpora Group is a national bus company, but it's got a very strong local presence, particularly around the Chew Valley. And then our group was the third part of the partnership. And the vision was to provide a quick, convenient, pre-bookable, low-cost method to get to work, encouraging active travel and taking cars off the road. And for that service to begin in April 2024. So just to give you a very vague idea of the vision, there would be 3 places where it would pick up, which is where the demand was shown to be highest through the survey: Bishop Sutton, Chewstoke and Chew Magna. And then it would take on to 4 locations that are essentially transport hubs for people. So people could get to Hengrove Park in time to get up to Cribbs Causeway for work, or could get to Temple Meads in time to catch trains to London or wherever, to Haymarket, which is essentially between Bristol bus station and Broadmead, and to the centre. So that's the proposal. Part of the thing that the group, the Sustainable Transport Group, has been excited about for some time is the idea of increasing active travel, encouraging people more to use walking, wheeling and cycling to get to locations. So when we put forward the bid, that was part of what we were wanting to encourage, and to kind of make sure people knew about the government Bike to Work scheme, to try to find ways to provide bike hangers and bike racks, and bikeability courses to bring people back into cycling or perhaps doing it for the first time, and to connect people to resources such as the bike workshops, bike maintenance workshops at Julian House Bike Workshop in Bath. So because we got so excited about it, we decided that actually we want to do a sustainable transport public meeting in the Valley. So we've set this up for Saturday the 16th of March between 10 and 12:30 in Bishop Sutton Hall. If the bid is successful, then that will be an opportunity to find out about it and connect with people involved in the scheme. But as much as that, it'll be an opportunity to find out more from travel experts about ways to travel across the valley, ways to really use Westlink effectively and to manage ongoing journeys. And obviously, if the West Local bus is part of that, then to connect into that as well. So please do save the date for that Sustainable Transport public meeting. The final thing I wanted to tell you about is a public meeting next week. So I know many parishes and individuals in the Chew Valley have been concerned about the expansion of Bristol Airport and the impact that may have on on local people, particularly in terms of congestion and air pollution and noise pollution, but also in terms of the climate and nature emergency. So Bristol Airport Action Network, people are probably aware of this group. It's been running for about 5 years now. What we're wanting to do, I'm a member of the group, we're wanting to do is update people about the various things that are going on now. We've developed what we're calling an eyes on tool, which counts the night flights in particular at Bristol Airport and just keeps them honest and checks that they're keeping to the limits that they're meant to keep to. Part of the meeting will be to report on a freedom of information request, which actually suggests that they're not. We're also involved in a national campaign to try to prevent airport expansion, and that campaign is actually running a meeting in Parliament, and we want to tell you more about that. So that's another kind of element of sustainable transport. It's partly about doing new things like active travel, and it's partly about limiting or restricting the expansion of aviation. Okay, that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Sorry, we're having problems with our little mic icon, which seems to have gone to sleep. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. I've noticed that Stuart and Dave Wood and Simon Hunter have put a note up saying they need to be away by 7:30. But if there are questions that people want to raise, they've put up their direct emails, I think. Yeah. So I assume they've gone now, have they? Sorry, we haven't got a full screen of attendees.
Oh, Dave Wood still here for another few minutes.
Fantastic. So quickly, are there any questions for Dave before he needs to leave? Oh, so Stuart is still around for the moment too. So
and I am as well. So Simon's still here too.
Okay, thank you. So how about one burning question to each of them before they go in about 3 minutes? No?
There's a lot to take in.
Yeah, indeed. Jackie,
Very
you've got a question.
Very good presentations.
Yeah, brilliantly inspiring, all three presentations. My question is, are you connecting with each other, your three organisations? Are you working together?
Yeah, shall I take that one? Yes, yeah. So absolutely. So yeah, we're talking, and particularly at the moment, myself and Simon from BART, looking at collaborating on both Lower Chew Forest and some other projects coming up. Simon mentioned the farm cluster and also the landscape recovery project, which we'll talk a bit more about at another time. And Stuart is just a guiding force for all of us, really. So Stuart is omnipresent in our lives.
Very generous of you, Dave. But thank you.
That's really encouraging to hear. Thank you.
Heather, Sam has got her hand up, and so's Richard.
Thank you. So Sam, would you like to go next?
Yeah, it was only a quick one. It was to Stuart's actually. Can you forward stuff to parish councils again? Because I'm aware that I can represent 3, and I think it's only got to sort of one of them. So it'd be useful if you could send it again, because whether it's got lost in the spam or it's been overlooked, but I think if you send these things more than once, if they're important, they get picked up. I find just doing one drop and then thinking that everyone understands what it means, when there's so much what comes into parish council inboxes, it's just beyond. But But yeah, it would be useful, and I think the same goes for anything in terms of from sort of Dave and Simon and whatever. Just keep sending stuff to parish councils. I don't feel like you're pestering them with emails. Sometimes, like if you need that multiple repetition. Sorry, that was really it. Because I'm aware of it and I've been promoting it, but I haven't necessarily heard it come direct from the parish councils themselves. So
yeah, thank you. That's a really helpful pointer. So I will resend it. I think I was worried about spamming people, but I'll resend it. And if there's any other email lists I can send it to, do let me know.
So Richard, I think, is next in terms of a question. Is that right?
So Richard Evershed, Tube Magna, also Bristol University. So I think I have had discussions with one or two of you before, and I've just recently made contact with Dave Wood, which I'm going to send you an email, Dave, soon. Brilliant presentations, and it's great to see all this stuff. I'm just going to offer that I am an environmental scientist at Bristol University, and I think there's some great opportunities here with these sort of initiatives with sort of linking up with the science. So if you want to do that, you could use me as a conduit to Bristol University. It's one of our pillars, is the environment. So if there's anything I can help with, I've got lots of contacts in the university. Maybe you have them already established, and there we've obviously got 2 other universities locally as well in Bath and University of West of England that are also obviously very heavily involved in the environment. We have collaborations with them. So if there's anything I can help with, I'll be very, very happy to engage with you. Just as soon as you start reforesting a landscape, I just start thinking of carbon stocks in the soil. We work on the soil. It's something we could start a long-term project on, perhaps, of monitoring that, but maybe you've got that in hand already.
We did have a meeting.
Thank you, Richard. No, go on, Stuart.
That's all right. I'll say this now. I probably do have to go. But just to note, we had a meeting actually with universities the other day, hosted by the Nature Partnership, and all the 4 universities attended there. But it did raise that I think we need to improve our links with the universities. There's probably a lot of untapped potential. So yeah, I've taken away an action to create a spreadsheet for our service in Baines, start getting some ideas together of potential projects. So yeah, I'd be happy to have a chat separately as well, Richard. Because I really think we could. There's a lot more that could be done there.
And it's obviously we are potential conduits into funding.
Yeah, always very
European funding with Horizon now on the back in play, and obviously over UK ERI. So lots of possibilities of us helping out there.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I think we, just to add to that, I think we had as Stuart alluded to, there was a useful conversation. I think it would be really good from a West of England Nature Partnership board to come up with some questions that we need help with, in terms of answering, because there's so many opportunities. And I think, we're working with your colleagues as well, Richard, but also the other 2 universities on various bits and pieces, but it's always a scramble. It's always a last minute,
exactly.
Who's doing what. So I think if we coordinated better collectively across the West of England, I think there could be some wonderful collaborations.
Yeah.
For me, I'd love to be able to quantify the benefits of nature-based solutions more, because it's something that we're desperate to see, desperate to deliver. Anecdotally, you're seeing the benefits, but we just don't have anywhere in the country the types of data to suggest that it's worth putting all eggs in one basket for. And I think we need to do that.
Yeah, and we've got links into Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. We've got contacts with lots of scientists there. They have long-term records of different regions, whole country. So it's let's try and do some connecting. I think because the work you're doing is fantastic. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I can, having been in contact with you, Simon, for a while, I can see how it's really maturing. It looks brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think Stuart, Dave and Simon, do you need to be going now?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
No, well, thank you. As has already been said, that was really 3 very, very good presentations, all connecting and linking in. I'm really lots more to talk through with you, but appreciate you need to be going now. So thank you very much indeed. Thanks you.
All.
Thanks, Heather.
So now we've got Guy and Jackie left. So are there questions for either of them? Doesn't look. Oh yeah, we've got Richard. Okay, Richard.
Yeah, Guy, I really liked your presentation, and as you went through it, I was kept on thinking education, 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 and you finally got to it at the end. But I just wonder whether just what other plans you might have for just embedding these some sort of outreach component into schools further, whether you've engaging with teachers, headmasters, whether you've got a plan for that.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yes, we have. So we've reached out to all the local schools and
Brilliant.
We've got contacts on our database. So we've got a database of local groups, and that includes individuals from, not all the schools have responded, but the vast majority have, from infant school up to Chew Valley School. So we do have contacts, and obviously they will be part of our mailing, and hopefully we'll get information coming back.
Because that's
as well.
They're the future, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Get them off the computer games, get them out in the countryside and enjoying, just how fascinating it all is.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Richard. Any further questions for Guy or Jackie, or comments that people want to make? No. Okay. So just sort of wrapping things up a bit. Lynn, you'll be in contact with all those people that
yes, I will pick up those names, and I've also got other people, because we've mentioned it, who are interested as well. So I'll get in touch with everybody and we'll take it from there. But thank you for all coming forward.
And to say thank you to Guy and to Jackie. All important things going on, and we cross our fingers in terms of the outcome of the bid, Jackie. I'm sure you'll let us know as soon as you know, so that's really good. And I know Guy will be circulating more information about the Nature Fest Day. So unless there's anything else that anybody wants to urgently raise, just quickly looking at future meeting dates. Our next one is in June, and one of the things that we were wondering is whether there might be interest in sort of stepping out of our usual meeting format, whether that be face-to-face or virtual, and looking at providing a chance for us to have a more relaxed social contact type get together. And one of the things we'd wondered about was, if Chew Valley Community Farm would agree, is whether we could perhaps use that as our next sort of social meeting opportunity. Now, best way of people sort of giving a view on that, because obviously we don't want to go forward with that if people feel that actually there's more benefit in having a what would then possibly be a face-to-face meeting, because it's summer and hopefully there won't be flooding and all the other things. Is it best that we ask people to email you, Sarah or Alison, just sort of saying, yeah, that sounds good, or no, that's rubbish and I'd rather whatever, or indeed suggesting other places that might be of interest?
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to feedback, receive any comments. I know Dave and Jackie have got their hands up, so
yeah,
they might have some
brilliant
thoughts.
Okay, that's good.
Shall I?
So, sorry.
Do you want me to go ahead and say what I was going to say, or?
Yeah, no, that would be good. No, go ahead, Jackie. Sorry.
I just was going to say that if you were contemplating something, at a weekend at the farm or something like that, please avoid the 15th and 16th of June because the Green Open Homes will be running that weekend in the area. So, and also clock that for your diaries. But that's the opportunity to go around to homes to see innovations that people have brought in to improve energy efficiency and also to increase biodiversity. So save the date that weekend.
Yeah.
15th,
Okay,
16th.
thank you.
We're looking at the 20th.
Yeah, we're looking at the 20th of June, so we'd be looking at a 6 o'clock-ish again. So yeah, but as I say, it's just an idea that's being floated, and if people feel that it's something they're interested in, then we'll follow up on that.
Heather, Dave's got his hand up also.
Oh, okay. Dave? Sorry, Dave Harding. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the local plan meetings. I think there are 7 of them being structured, and they're all sort of east of the A37. So I'm looking to arrange one in the Chew Valley towards the end of March, and I will send the details around for everyone. Hopefully parish councillors and interested residents will be able to come and come then.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I think we had noticed that, yeah, they're all that way. So that would be really good if that can be arranged. Thank you. Right, so I don't see any more hands up. So that leaves us.
Oh, sorry, Heather. Richard's just.
Richard has just gone up.
Yeah,
yeah.
I used to be an attendee of the forum, and then I only heard about this meeting secondhand. So I don't know whether my name had fallen off the list somehow. Could you make sure I'm included? How do I get my?
Yeah, apologies, Richard. We'll make sure that if you can email, I'll put Alison's and my email in the chat, and if you email us directly, we'll make sure that you're added to the mailing list.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and likewise for anybody else that's been at the meeting this evening and wants to make sure that they receive further information. Okay, I'll just take in a breath for a moment and see if there are any more hands that go up. No, I don't think so. So just to say thank you, everybody, for coming along virtually to the forum. I think there have been some great presentations from everybody. And it really feels as though there's a lot happening across the Chew Valley and a lot of sort of connecting of those projects and things really falling into place. I guess one of the things for me is that came out quite strongly is the need to have a decent mapping facility around nature and rivers and so on and so forth. So hopefully that's something that can be picked up, maybe through the Chew Valley Reconnected Partnership. So yeah, thank you, Sarah and Alison as well. Without you both, we wouldn't have the technology to be here. So thank you. So yeah, indeed, thank you, everybody.